Good morning, everyone. I hope all is well. Welcome to my virtual class for today. Today is Monday, and I will be a presenter. So for now, we will be having statistics and probability as our subject for today. So before anything else, let's have a little prayer first. Let's say a little prayer today to start the day, right? So Heavenly Father, thank you for a blissful day. Keep not only our eyes and ears open, but also our minds and hearts, that we may understand today's lesson. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Okay, good morning again. So let's have our attendance. Okay, secretary. Let's see who are our attendees. Okay, check, check, check. Okay, good. So, congratulations everyone. We have a perfect attendance for today. So let's have our online classroom rules first so that we will be guided with our session for today. So this will be our virtual classroom rules. So first we have to be on time. You have to act like you're at school. So please, all eyes and ears on me. Then also sit in one spot during class. Please avoid loitering around the house. Then also keep yourself muted. You can unmute yourselves if you are asked to recite or you want to speak up, and then turn on your video. Raise your hand if you want to talk. Listen. And this one, I want to be particular with this. No eating during class. You can have your snacks or your meals before or after the session. Then also have fun and do your best. So that will be our virtual online virtual guidelines. So we're already on our second week of quarter 4, and this will be our first module for the week. So this is entitled as learning topic will be hypothesis testing. Okay, so this will be the objective of our subject. Content standard or the lesson. Content standard, the learner demonstrates understanding of key concepts of test hypothesis on the population mean and population proportion. The next is, for the performance standard, the learner is able to appropriate test of hypothesis involving the population mean and population proportion to make inferences in real-life problems in different disciplines. Then for learning competency, in this lesson, the learner formulates the appropriate null and alternative hypothesis on a population mean to make conclusion based on decision rule. Okay, so that will be our competency. So I would like to ask you, how do you find the lesson last time? Oh, good. So you find the lesson easy. So at least it is a good start because yes, last time's lesson is in relation with today's discussion. So for our review, I have here an activity which is named as Complete Me. So in this activity, you need to complete the statements by filling in phrases to satisfy the statements. So please avoid using pronouns and names of persons. Okay? Okay, are you ready? Okay, good. Okay, let's start with number 1. Complete me. Dogs are blank. Donnie, could you please complete the statement for me? Good. So dogs are man's best friend. That's good. So Donnie, are you sure? Are you 100% sure that dogs are man's best friend? Of course not. Okay, so for some, they are dogs. They find dogs as their best friend. But for others, especially those who are afraid of dogs, they can consider dogs as their best friend. Okay, so this means that this statement could be half true or half false, or could be valid, or could also be false or invalid. Okay, do you understand? Okay, let's go to the second statement. Okay, for the second statement, please complete this. Byron, Sinovac vaccine manufactured from China, blank. Okay, good, Byron. Sinovac vaccine manufactured from China is safer to use than AstraZeneca. That is for Byron's opinion. So these are actually facts. Okay, so Byron, I want to ask you, is it 100% sure? Are you sure it's that? Of course not. It's an opinion. So, for some, they find Sinovac vaccine manufactured from China is safer than AstraZeneca. But for others, they find it the other way around. Okay? So, this statement could either be true or false, right? Okay, again. So, if that is the case, basing on the first two questions, how do you identify again statements, facts, or premises that could either be true or false in statistics? Very good. So that is hypothesis. So that is our lesson last time. Actually, just for a review, hypothesis is a statement or premise that can be tested by scientific research and could either be true or false. Okay? Sometimes they call it as an educated guess, others call it as a prediction. Okay? But the only difference is that in hypothesis, it is subject for further study. Okay? You could find ways on how to make or how to know if it's really true or it's false, or it's if it's really valid or not. Okay? Okay. So here are some examples of hypothesis. So number one, smoking cigarettes daily can lead to lung cancer. Okay, so that is our first statement. Second is vitamin-rich water improves plant growth than distilled water. Then the third one is the world is flat. Okay, I want you to look at number three. The statement or the hypothesis, the world is flat, is actually a hypothesis before. But now, it is already proven that the world is not flat. Okay? But before it came to fact, it was being studied also. It undergoes, it undergone further study also. Okay, so these are hypotheses. Now, how will we know if a hypothesis is really true or not? Okay, how? Okay, for example, you guys, how will I know if you really understand our lesson today? What do you expect after this? Of course, I will give you a test. I will conduct a test. It's the same thing with hypothesis. We have to conduct a test to know if the hypothesis is valid or not, or is it uh, accepted or rejected. Okay, that is to test a hypothesis, or what do we call hypothesis testing. Okay, actually, hypothesis testing is a systematic way of testing claims or ideas about a group or population using experimental data. So, which means that in hypothesis testing, you have to undergo a systematic process or a systematic method. Actually, I will be giving you six steps on how to make a hypothesis testing. Okay? So, it is a systematic way of testing claims or ideas. What are these claims or ideas? Actually, claims are statements that are subject for proving. or under investigation. Okay, what should be proved? What should be the initial statement that requires investigation? Okay, so that is the meaning of claims. Now, about a group or population using experimental data. So, of course, if it is a hypothesis, it is required for you to have a data, okay, and make use of the proper tests. So, where are you going to get the data? From the group of people or population where you will conduct the testing. So, how will you do it? Of course, by collecting samples. Okay. So under hypothesis testing, you have here the statistical hypothesis. Actually, this is the hypothesis that is being required in hypothesis testing, because this is a hypothesis to be tested and should be testable using the systematic method. So which means that make sure that the hypothesis that you're proposing, or that you have that you will be giving, should be subject for study. Okay, there is something that should be tested for it on it using the systematic method. Okay, so I will be giving you the formulas later. So some examples of it. This is an example of a statistical hypothesis. Okay, so I read a study from a journal that the average hours a student spent for their online classes a day is 5 hours. I want to know if the test is valid. Okay, so you see, this is an example. Why? Because there is something should be tested. That there is a study that the average hours students spent for their online classes a day is 5 hours. Are you sure that this is true? Okay, is this study true? So, if I would like to test or to know if it's really true, then I have to conduct the hypothesis testing. So, what will I do? So, I will choose 30 students perhaps, 35, 40, and so on as my sample. Of course, the sample or the students the population that I will be using should be students that are undergoing online classes. Okay, so that I can get data. I can gather the data. So I will have to conduct an interview to them and to know that the number of hours they spent per day. Actually, in this example, I will be using the say test because I am using 30 students. There will be two types of tests that you can use in hypothesis testing. It could be z-test or the t-test. If you want to use the z-test, or if you want to know if you are which tests should be used, if the sample is 30 and above, you will be using the z-test. But if it is lower than 30, you will be using the t-test. Okay. Can you follow? Are you still with me? Okay. So, I will gather all the data and take the proper test to know if the claim is true or valid. Okay? So, there are two types of statistical hypothesis. One is null hypothesis and the other one is the alternative hypothesis. So, of course, null hypothesis, null means empty, nothing. So, it is being symbolized by H sub O. And alternative hypothesis will be symbolized by H sub A. So, this is the only thing that you should remember with null and alternative hypothesis. The other one is the counterpart of the other. Okay, so whatever the null hypothesis is, to get the statement of the alternative, just take the counterpart of the null, the opposite. Okay? Okay. So let's focus first on the null hypothesis. So this is the symbol, the equation for the null hypothesis. So the two parameters should be equal. So this shows that there is no difference between the two populations population means or parameter. Okay? So you have to find the keyword on the statement. Okay, for you to be easy to determine if you're going to make use of null or alternative hypothesis, you have to look for the keywords. So what will be the keywords? By the way, null hypothesis, remember that null hypothesis always uses the equal sign. Okay? So, of course, you have here the equal sign. To be able for you to use the equal sign, the keywords that you should find in the statement should be equal to, the same as, not change from, and is. And also, you're going to make use of the greater than and equal to symbol because there is the equal symbol here. Okay? So, what will be the keyword for you to know that you will be using this one? The word at least. Okay? Then for the word at most, if you found the word at most in a statement, you will be using the less than or equal to symbol. So you notice that all of the symbols here have an equal sign. Okay? So all of them falls under the null hypothesis. Now, how about alternative hypothesis? So these three are the symbol for a simple statement for alternatives hypothesis. So you will be using here the not equal sign, that is the counterpart of equal, the greater than sign, or it could also be the less than sign. So an alternative hypothesis shows that there is a difference between the two population means or parameter. Okay, so let's look for the keyword. So you have to familiarize yourselves with the keywords for alternative. If you found the words like not equal, different from, change from, not the same as, so all of them falls under the not equal sign. And also, if you found the word greater than, above, higher than, longer than, bigger than, increased, then you will be using the greater than symbol. If you found the less than, lower than, smaller than, shorter than, decreased, or reduced from keywords, this will be using the less than symbol. Still with me? Okay, do you have questions? None so far. Okay, let's see. Okay, now I have here a situation. Okay, I read a study from a journal that the average hours a student spend for their online classes a day is 5 hours. You are to formulate the null and alternative hypothesis of the situation. Okay, and also, let's try also to identify which is the claim. Okay, so for us to be able to know if it's or how to formulate the null and alternative, let's find for the keyword first. So there's a study that the average hours students spend for their online classes today is 5 hours. So what will be your keyword? Okay, so the keyword will be is. Okay, the keyword is is. So here, the statement will be the average hours student for their online classes is 5 days. Okay, hypothesis. So since we use the keyword is, of course, it will fall on the null hypothesis. Okay? And it will be using the equal sign here. Wait a minute. Okay. So you have here this one. Okay? So equal sign. And then, So the two parameters, what are the two parameters? The average hours students spent for the online classes, that is for mu1, and what is the equivalent for that? Mu2, that will be the 5 hours. Mu are the population mean, remember that? Okay, so now this stands for our claim. Our claim falls on the null hypothesis. Okay, that is what is being proven. Okay, which this is the statement that should be proven. Is it accepted or rejected? So that is our claim. Okay, so let's proceed with the next one. Now, for the alternative hypothesis, all we have to do is to take the counterpart of the null hypothesis. Again, in null hypothesis, we use the equal sign symbol. Now, of course, here, if it's a counterpart, we will be using the not equal sign symbol. And the statement will be, the average hours students spend for their online classes a day is not equal to 5 hours. So you just change this statement here. Okay, almost the same statement, you just have to get the counterpart. Is not equal to, and that is equivalent to h sub a is to mu1 not equal to 5. Did you get it? Okay, very good. So that's good. So let's proceed now with the next slide. Okay, let's have the second activity. So here, you are going to formulate the null and alternative hypothesis. And also, you are going to identify which is the claim. I will be posting this for 1 minute, and you have to write your answers on the comment box. Okay, after 1 minute, we'll start answering this. And you have to stop answering or putting your answers in the comment box. Okay, do it honestly. Now, you are going to identify. Okay, start. Okay, now, time's up. So, it's already 1 minute. Okay, let's answer. I'll be calling 3 students. Okay, for the first one. Okay, the percentage of people who believe in global warming is 70%. Carol, could you please answer? Okay, let's do this one by one at a time. Okay, Carol, can you see the keyword? Okay, the keyword is. So, if the keyword is, what symbol are we going to use? It's an equal sign. Now, if it's an equal sign, where will it fall? Under the null hypothesis. Very good. So, here, our, sorry. So, here, our null hypothesis will be mu is equal to 0.70. Okay? And this is our claim. Okay, is it really true that the percentage of people who believe in global is really 70%? That is the claim to be investigated. Okay, and then to take the alternative hypothesis, just get the counterpart. Yes, very good. Mu is not equal to 0.70. Okay, so very good with that. You have questions with this first before we proceed? Okay, let's proceed with the second number. According to study, will you please read? According to study, the monthly allowance of a senior high school student is more than 4,000 pesos. Okay, let's have Cherry. Would you please answer this? Could you please find for the keyword? Okay, very good. The keyword will be is more than. So what will be the symbol for that? So that will be a greater than sign. If you will be using a greater than sign, then where will it fall? Is it under the null hypothesis or okay, very good. It's under the alternative hypothesis. So, which means that h of a is equal is to mu greater than 4,000. According to the study, the monthly allowance of a senior high school is more than 4,000 pesos. And that is where our claim is. Okay? So, you have the alternative already. Let's get the null hypothesis. Okay, so the counterpart actually of greater than is less than. But remember that in null hypothesis, we always use the equal sign. So together with the the less than, we have to get the equal sign also. So that will be less than or equal to 4,000 pesos. Okay, so always. Are you still with me? Okay, very good. Questions? None. Okay, number 3. The main amount of chocolate consumed per person in the Philippines is at least 12 pounds. Yes, Rochelle, could you please find the keyword for me? Good, the keyword is at least. And what will be the symbol? Okay, greater than or equal to 12 pounds. And that will be our claim. So, the counterpart, okay, just take for the counterpart of greater than. So, H sub A would be mu is less than 12 pounds. Okay, so it seems that the 3 numbers were answered correct. Did everybody got it right? Okay, but can you still follow? Okay, very good. Okay, now we can now proceed with decision rule. Decision rule is actually a statement that tells if the null hypothesis is accepted or rejected. And basically, this is used for conclusion. Now, decision rule is actually the reason why we are formulating hypothesis or null and alternative hypothesis, because sooner or later, we're going to decide if the null hypothesis is accepted or rejected. Of course, we know if our study is valid or not, true or false. So that's the reason why we are having our decision rule. And there are steps on how to make a decision rule. Now, decision rule is using two types of tail test. One is one tail test and the other one is two tail test. For the one tail test allows you to determine if one mean is greater or less than another mean. Okay, but you cannot use both. Okay, it's either greater than or less than. Okay, and for the two tail test, you are going to test both sides. And actually, this is the type of test that is used for null hypothesis. For null hypothesis, automatically you are going to make use of the two-tailed test. Okay? It is used if the hypothesis indicates equal value. Okay? Now remember that tail test relies on the claimed hypothesis, which means that whichever the claim hypothesis falls to, that is where our decision rule lies. Okay, so later you'll see. So we have here, why is it called as a tail test? Okay, this is the reason. Okay, later we will be discussing why is it called as a tail test. So I just have to have an example first. Okay, let's say for example, this one. Okay, examples. So these are the answers from the previous previous activity. So here for number 1, the claim is on the null hypothesis, which says that mu1 is equal to 0.70. If your claim falls under the null hypothesis, and we all know that if you're using the null hypothesis, you will be using the two-tailed test, then therefore, the decision rule here should be a two-tailed test. Okay? Now, for number 2, let's see. Where does our alternative hypothesis lies? So, alternative hypothesis, our claim falls under the alternative. So, that will be a one-tailed test. Okay? The greater than sign. Okay? Next, for the third one, our claim falls under the null hypothesis again. So this means that we're going to make use of a two-tailed test. So that is what we mean by the previous statement. Now, for the decision rule, okay, so now you will see why is it called as a one-tailed test. Tailed test. So for the decision rule, on the one-tailed test, you have there the left-tailed test and the right-tailed test. Now, the left-tailed test, the rejection region is on the leftmost part of the uh, normal distribution diagram. Actually, this is a bell curve, okay, and this is used for normal distribution. Now, this is the center of the distribution, and this is equivalent to 0. Now, you can see here the red part. This is the rejection region. Any value that falls under here will be rejected. Now, the green shaded part will be the acceptance region. And any value that falls in this region will be accepted. Now, the same thing with right-tailed test. So, here is why is it called right-tailed? Because most of the values that will be found here is in the rightmost part, and this is considered as rejected. So all values that goes in this region will be accepted. For the two-tailed test, as you notice, it uses since it's for null hypothesis, both sides are to be tested. And if the values falls on these sides, the red part, it will be rejected. Okay, the null hypothesis will be rejected. Okay, so can you follow that? Okay, so next, let's focus first with the one-tailed test. So here, the left-tailed test, mu1 should be less than mu sub 2, and for the right-tailed test, the alternative hypothesis is mu1 greater than mu2. Okay, so you can see that. Now, let's have an illustration. Okay, example. Okay, you have here what type of tail test? Okay, one tail test, right-tailed or left-tailed? Okay, this is a right-tailed test. Now, the rejection region here is this part. Now, you can see here the 1.5 value. I set this as my Z critical value. Now, the Z critical value will be given on your uh, problem, on the problem. Okay, it will be indicated. But for the Z value, this is subject for computation. There will be a formula that will be given to you so that for you to know the value of your Z. But for the meantime, assuming that I gave you the Z value already. So let's say for example, the Z value is 1.45. Okay, what will be the claim if the Z critical value is 1.5? This is the 1.5. You have to locate the 1.45 Z value. So where is it located? Is it before 1.5 or or after 1.5? Okay, it would be before 1.45. Now notice where it falls. 1.45 falls on the acceptance region. Therefore, your claim or the null hypothesis will be accepted. Okay? Now, also on the second number, Z value is 1.75. So, where is it located? Okay? So, accepted. 1.75, the claim is, that is after the 1.5. Therefore, the claim will be rejected. Okay, that will be rejected. Okay. Okay, so very good. Do you follow? Do you have questions with it? Okay. So let's have a lesson wrap up. So for the lesson wrap up, again, how do we start hypothesis testing? Okay, we start hypothesis testing by formulating our alternative and null hypothesis. Next, what do we use to accept or reject the null hypothesis? We're going to make use of the decision rule. And the last one, how do we use the decision rule? Okay, first is to know what type of tail test is to use. Is it a one-tail test or the two-tail test? And then after which, you are going to determine the critical value and solve for the z value. And then locate for the z value on the distribution. Okay, and then after that, you are going to decide whether you accept or reject the hypothesis. Okay, the null hypothesis. Okay, so let's have a sit work. So for your sit work, I'll be flashing this for 1 minute only. So you have to write your answers on your comment box, So when I say stop, you have to stop. You have to write 1 to 5 and then letters only. Okay? Okay, start. Okay, time's up. So let's see. Okay, let's have number 1. Which hypothesis should be written as an inequality? Listen, Carol, again. Okay, good. The answer is A. For number 2, it is a procedure that researcher uses to decide whether to accept or reject the null hypothesis. Okay, number 2 is letter C. Good. Let's have Rochelle for number 3. What's your answer? Please read and answer. Okay, the answer would be letter C. Very good on that. Okay, number 4. Let's have Reagan. Okay, what would be answer? Okay, very good. Letter A. And for number 5, Patricia. Patricia. Okay. So number 5 will be letter B. Okay, very good. So it seems that you know already the lesson well. So for that, you will be having a group beta. Okay. So your group beta will be you should have a report which will be presented on Friday. So this will be a group task. So I will group the class into 5. Each group will act as a group of researchers conducting a study, and each group should pick a lead researcher. The group should provide one statistical hypothesis, which can be in the field of education, technology, medicine, or any field. You can look into current events or any news. Assume a critical value of 1.96 and a z value of negative 1.25. So all of your studies will have a critical value of 1.96 and a z value of negative 1.25. Then the group will present the study. The inclusion of the presentation will be A, null hypothesis, B, alternative hypothesis, and C, decision rule. Prepare to report it in class on Friday. Okay? Do you have questions with our group beta? Okay, none? Okay, now this will be our rubrics. Rubrics used for the group beta. So for the criteria, choice of the hypothesis, 5 points. Formulation of null and alternative hypothesis, 5 points. Cooperation and teamwork, also 5 points. Decision rule used, 5 points. and manner of presentation would also be equivalent to 5 points. So total points will be 25 points for this group beta for this quarter. Okay. Now for your assignment, this is an individual task. Please open the Google form that I sent to the Google Classroom. So this is the link actually. So you have to answer it honestly and individually. Let's try to press the link. Okay. So actually I cannot open it. But anyway, I have sent it already to your Google Classroom. So please answer it honestly and individually. You have to take the screenshot of your scores and send it via my email. Okay? Okay, that will be due for tomorrow only. Okay? So that's all for now. See you tomorrow for the continuation of the lesson. Tomorrow's topic, if you want, please make an advanced study. Reading the T-table, level of significance, compute for the Z value, and application problems. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening. I hope you do your assignments and your group beta. Stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.